Every single night, we do something kind of strange. We lie down, we close our eyes, and we just willingly give up control for hours. We enter this state where we're totally vulnerable, completely defenseless, and yet it's also how we restore ourselves. It's a huge paradox. So tonight, let's pull back the curtain on this nightly mystery and find out what is really going on when you fall asleep.
Think about it from an evolutionary point of view. It makes zero sense, right? To spend a third of your life completely out of it, unaware of any dangers, any predators. You're a sitting duck, and yet we have to do it. So that begs the question, what is so important, so absolutely critical about sleep that it's worth taking such a massive risk every single night? Well, the answer is way more incredible than you might think.
And just to understand how deep this state of unconsciousness goes, listen to this. This is the case of Scott Folliter. In 1997, he went to bed as a normal husband and dad and woke up to the police arresting him for murdering his wife. She'd been stabbed 44 times. Folliter, who had a history of sleepwalking, swore he couldn't remember a thing. It's a terrifying real-life example of just how disconnected our conscious mind can be from our physical body. It shows you the total loss of control we sign up for every time we go to sleep.
Okay, so if sleep can be that dangerous, the benefits have got to be huge, right? Absolutely. Let's start with the most basic thing sleep does for us. It's basically janitorial work. While you're sleeping, your brain is actually running a super sophisticated deep cleaning cycle. This whole operation is run by something scientists call the glymphatic system. The easiest way to think about it is like a dedicated sanitation crew just for your brain. See, all day long, while your brain cells are firing away, thinking, feeling, they're also creating toxic junk, metabolic waste. And the glymphatic system's job is to get in there and clear all of that gunk out before it causes real problems. So how does this whole cleanup actually work? Well, first, your brain pumps clean cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF, in along the outside of your arteries. Then, this fluid washes through your brain tissue, mixing with the gunk between your cells and collecting all the waste. And we're talking about nasty stuff, like amyloid beta proteins, which are directly linked to Alzheimer's disease. Finally, this toxic soup gets flushed out of the brain through channels along your veins. But here's the absolute key, the last point on the slide. This whole process barely works when you're awake. It kicks into high gear almost exclusively while you're asleep. So how on earth does the brain do this so efficiently at night? Well, this part is just mind-blowing. It's almost like science fiction. While you're asleep, your brain cells, they literally shrink. They shrivel up, and the space between them expands by a staggering 60%. This opens up all the channels and allows that cleaning fluid to just flood the zone and wash everything away. It's an incredible piece of biological engineering. This slide gives you the perfect way to picture it. Your brain when you're awake, it's like a big city during rush hour. The streets are jammed with traffic, cars everywhere. There's just no room for the cleaning crews to get in and do their job. But when you fall asleep, it's like the city shuts down for the night. The streets are suddenly empty. And that's when the sanitation trucks can finally roll in and power wash everything, clearing away all the garbage that built up during the day. But sleep is so much more than just a garbage crew. It's also like a master librarian, meticulously reorganizing all the information you took in during the day. The next job is basically to defragment your mind's hard drive, making sure it's running fast and efficiently for the next day.
There's this famous saying in neuroscience, and it's really the basis for all learning and memory. Every time you learn something, the connections between certain brain cells, they're called synapses, they get stronger. But here's the catch. You can't just keep making connections stronger and stronger and stronger forever. Your brain would basically run out of energy and space.
And that's where this idea called the synaptic homeostasis hypothesis, or SHY for short, comes into play. As you go about your day, learning and experiencing things, all these connections are getting stronger, and that takes up a ton of energy. So what sleep does is this really elegant trick. It performs a system-wide reset. Now, it doesn't just erase what you learn. Instead, it carefully weakens most of those connections just a little bit, which preserves the most important new ones, but brings the whole network back to a stable, energy-efficient level.
Honestly, the best metaphor here really is defragmenting a hard drive. Imagine during the day, you're just saving files all over your computer. Everything's a mess, and it starts to slow down. Then, at night, sleep comes in and acts like a cleanup utility. It tidies everything up, it consolidates the important data, and it frees up a ton of space. So when you wake up, you've got a fresh, optimized system, ready to learn all over again.
Okay, so we've talked about the physical cleaning and the data reorganization, but what about the part of sleep we actually experience? What about dreams? You know, those vivid, sometimes bizarre, and often incredibly profound worlds that we visit every night.
More than 2,000 years ago, a Chinese philosopher named Zhuangzi told this story. He had a dream that he was a butterfly, and it was so real, so completely convincing, that when he woke up, he was genuinely confused. He couldn't be sure, was he a man who had just dreamed he was a butterfly? Or was he a butterfly who is now dreaming that he was a man?
And look, this isn't just some ancient philosophical riddle. Every single night, your brain proves that it is a full-blown reality-generating machine. It builds entire worlds out of nothing but memory and imagination. Worlds with sights, sounds, emotions, a whole sense of self. And if your brain can pull off a flawless simulation like that every night, it kind of forces you to ask a pretty uncomfortable question. How can you be so certain that the world you're in right now isn't just another one of those simulations?
This line of thinking, it leads us straight into really modern ideas like the simulation hypothesis. The fact that our brains can generate these hyper-realistic dreams is one of the key pieces of evidence for the idea that our waking life could be a simulation too. Which leads to the next question: if this is a simulation, what part are you playing? Are you the one holding the controller, or are you just a non-player character, an NPC, running on a pre-written script?
So within this idea, you can imagine two kinds of beings. You've got the NPC, the non-player character. They're basically running on autopilot. Their reactions are scripted by their past, by their beliefs. They're stuck in these loops, these rigid habits, and often they can't even see that they're in them. But then you have the agent, the player. An agent has real autonomy. They can take a step back and actually observe their own thoughts. And because of that, they can consciously choose to do something different. They can break the script.
So think about your own life for a second. This isn't some abstract idea. When something happens and you feel that flash of anger or a wave of anxiety, that familiar feeling, do you ever stop right in that moment and question it? Do you ever wonder, wait, where is this coming from? Why am I reacting this way?
Or what about your habits? Think of a small one. Can you right now, just through a conscious decision, decide to change that pattern? And not just for a day, but to actually rewrite that part of your own code? Because according to this whole idea, the ability to do that is the very definition of having free will. It's what separates the player from a piece of the scenery.
So, wow. We've gone all the way from the brain's plumbing system to the nature of reality itself. So what's the one idea that ties all of this together? It all comes back to this concept of a nightly reboot.
Let's just quickly recap. Every single night, without you even thinking about it, your brain performs a series of absolute miracles. It runs a deep cleaning cycle, taking out the toxic trash. It resets and fine-tunes its own wiring so you can learn new things. It runs these incredibly complex world simulations we call dreams. Essentially, what sleep is your biological computer shutting down and completely rebooting its operating system, getting ready for a fresh start the next day.
So sleep gives your brain's hardware a mandatory reset every single night. It cleans the slate. And that leaves us with one final, really big question. What would it take for you to give your own mental software, your habits, your beliefs, your very sense of who you are, that same kind of conscious reboot when you wake up in the morning?